Our case in part 1 focused on a 9-year-old Nakul who was sexually abused by a known and trusted family member. In this part, we will discuss a case of a child sexual abuse in context of sex trafficking. Let's begin by talking about a 15-year-old girl. I'll call her Amy. Amy's mother died when Amy was 12. Her father remarried soon thereafter. The new stepmother did not like Amy and arranged for her to be sent away to work as a domestic servant. However, in reality, she sold Amy to sex traffickers who held Amy in a brothel in another city. She was subjected to repeated, severe physical and sexual violence thereafter at the hands of traffickers and buyers. When police later raided the brothel, Amy was put in prison and subsequently released back to her trafficker. Before and during her period of trafficking, Amy experienced many traumatic events, ranging from the death of her mother to separation from her father and siblings, to loss of her community, and extensive violence, deprivation, and repeated sexual assault. All of this trauma has changed the way Amy views the world when she was a small child. She likely felt that the world was a safe and predictable place and that the people around her cared about her well-being. Now, she probably sees the world as a very dangerous, unpredictable, hostile place where everyone is intent on exploiting her for their own gain. She once saw herself as a capable older sister who was good at her chores and schoolwork and worthy of a bright future. Now, she sees herself as dirty, bad, helpless, and unworthy. If this is the way Amy perceives things, what should I expect when I'm speaking with her and asking questions? Amy might be very withdrawn, meek and compliant, reflecting a lack of self-esteem and sense of agency and a desire to avoid being noticed and abused. She may be angry, truculent and uncooperative, harboring the subconscious view that aggression on her part may prevent aggression on yours. If you are a man, she may behave in a sexually provocative way, believing that this is the only way to communicate with males and that her sexuality is the only worthy part of her being. Trauma may impact Amy in other ways too. Often, severe trauma can lead to physical changes such as headaches and other pain complaints that do not have an apparent medical cause, changes in eating habits, or problems with sleep. It can cause a child to become very anxious whenever something in the environment, such as a sight, smell, or sound triggers a memory of prior trauma. A child may have tremendous difficulty paying attention and concentrating. They may start doing poorly in school. Amy may have nightmares about her trauma. She may avoid certain situations that remind her of her past. She may become emotionally numb, and dissociate from her surroundings when she is anxious. Adolescents who have had major trauma frequently develop high-risk behaviors such as drug or alcohol use to numb emotional pain or running away from home to escape trauma or anxiety-producing situations. Children and teens may become very depressed and withdrawn, may even try to harm themselves. Remember part 1. Understanding how trauma impacts a child allows us to respond sensitively to behavior or statements that may seem odd or inappropriate. For example, instead of responding to Amy's belligerence with open hostility, instead of meeting her rejection of us with reciprocal rejection, we can take a step back, understand why Amy may be behaving the way she is, and respond with compassion, openness, and acceptance. We can strive to build trust with her, remaining non-judgmental and accepting her perspective rather than demanding she comply with our ideas of how she should behave. Let's think for a minute about bias and discrimination. When working with labor or sex-trafficked children, a variety of different biases may come into play. We all have biases, and if we do not recognize and manage them, they can lead us to treat trafficked children badly, disrespect them, ignore important aspects of their case that might challenge our biases, misinterpret information, or jump to erroneous conclusions. Do you think it likely that authorities working with her have biases against her regarding her low socioeconomic status, low caste, rural background, female gender, her perceived status as tarnished as a woman, that is, she is no longer a virgin, she may have faced additional bias for being a foreigner being involved in prostitution. If Amy had been born and raised in Nepal. Trauma-informed care is also rights-based. It honors the basic right of all people to be treated with respect and dignity and without bias or any discrimination of any kind. Do you think Amy or Nakul were treated with respect by their abusers? Almost certainly they did not. And it is very likely that both children have very low self-esteem and feel unworthy of respect. We need to make every effort to build that self-esteem and self-worth by demonstrating respect in everything we do. An important human right encompassed with the trauma-informed approach is the right of the traumatized child to obtain information in a way they can understand and to have a voice in what happens to them as is appropriate to the developmental stage. This means that we as professionals need to explain carefully everything we want to do and why we want to do it. We need to ask the child if they have any questions, and very importantly, whenever feasible, we need to obtain permission from the child before proceeding. Let's take an example. There is one additional component of trauma-informed care to discuss. This approach heavily emphasizes the child's strengths and resilience. It recognizes that a traumatized child is much more than a victim. Nakul and Amy have been severely exploited. It is not likely that they see themselves as strong, resilient, and in control of their lives. We need to help them regain self-assurance and self-agency. You can call attention to the strength they have shown in living through the trauma and surviving a dangerous situation. Emphasize the creativity and resourcefulness they demonstrated in finding ways to get by in very harsh, challenging circumstances. You can offer choices whenever possible. Would you like to sit in this chair or that one? Would you like something to eat or drink? Encourage the child to ask questions and voice their concerns. Sometimes, children who have been through experiences like yours have concerns and worries. For example, they may have questions about how their bodies might have changed, or may worry about what others may say or do. Do you have any concerns you'd like to talk to me about?